Hello, I'm here to talk to you about Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812, currently playing at the Donmar warehouse. My name is Z, and I'm coming from you from Operation Live Theatre. As the full name of the musical is quite a mouthful, I will just refer to this musical simply as The Great Comet from now on. The show was first written and composed by Dave Malloy and first premiered on Broadway in 2016. So the UK audience has waited for almost a decade for this to transfer to London. When I first heard about this production, I was so excited I basically booked a ticket straight away within about a few minutes after the show came out, really to make sure that I will get a chance to see this before it sells out. And oh my god, it did very quickly. So, did it live up to the expectation? Let's find out. We're introduced to all of the key characters basically within the first musical number, the prologue, which clearly describes the key traits of each character in a few succinct words, explaining that this is a complicated Russian novel and everybody's got nine different names, and yes, they basically did, and it's very difficult to keep track of them. And to avoid confusions, I would just go with the character's preferred name rather than the full name, as I don't think I'll be able to without drawing a very complex schematic with a lot of annotations. Anyway, that aside, Natasha has moved to Moscow as she is engaged to Andrei, who is currently away fighting in the war. At the start, she is madly in love with Andrei and is just keen to wait for his return from the battlefield. Running in parallel to Natasha's plot, we also have Pierre, who is rich and stuck in a loveless marriage with Helene. He is Andrei's best friend and also the brother-in-law to Anatole, who is the one that will seduce Natasha and ultimately the person that led him to turn down Andrei's proposal. Then, plot twist, Anatole is actually a married man and is forced by Pierre to leave Moscow, leaving Natasha heartbroken and without a husband, as Andrei refuses to ask for her hand in marriage again. It's worth noting that Natasha and Pierre don't actually meet until the very end of the show, but they are keenly aware of each other's existence. Even though the plot sounds quite convoluted, it really isn't that difficult to understand, and director Tim Shearder has done a wonderful job at creating a vision that is actually fairly easy to interpret. Even though there are a lot of moving parts, and the story actually takes place over several days, characters, and plot lines, it actually doesn't have a huge amount of depth, and there isn't much more beyond the fact that Natasha is in love, initially with Andrei and then with Anatole, and that Pierre is simply unhappy. Because there are plots running in parallel, it can cause a bit of confusion on when the different strands are meant to be distinct or when they're supposed to intertwine, at least not immediately when they transition from one song to another. I personally found Natasha to be an incredibly frustrating character. She seems to be head over heel for Andre in the first half of Act 1, but then falls for Anatole and his seduction within a single musical number and completely abandons Andre. But because Andre is not actually present for majority of the show, it is a little easier to sympathize with Natasha on why she couldn't remain faithful to somebody who was simply not there. Chimisa Dornford May plays the role of Natasha in this production, capturing the youthfulness of this character. She is incredibly sweet and also a little naive as well. She is attractive and spirited, and it's really easy to see why Anatole has set his eyes on her. Pierre, on the other hand, is another lead character. He is played by Declan Bennett, portraying a more introverted man, deeply troubled and really unhappy with his marriage. So, to make things worse, his wife Helene simply does not care about his feelings and will continue to party away with other men and to seduce them. It's precisely because he is usually the voice of reason is all the more terrifying when his emotions explode and make his delivery even more compelling when he finally confronts Anatole and forces him to get out of Moscow. Even though I really enjoyed Chamisa Dawnford-May and Declan Bennett's performances, Jamie Moscato in the role of Anatole is definitely the highlight for me. He commands the stage with so much swagger and gives out that charisma and look that he is confident and is able to get to and seduce every person, irrespective of gender, and make them fall in love with him. And at the same time, he has done an exceptional job at creating such a hateful character as well. Seeing how amazing his performance is, I confess, even my heart skipped a beat whenever he comes on stage, so drop out and indeed. The way he dances in the musical number The Abduction transfer the set to effectively a dance floor, almost a little bit like a cabaret in a way. For this particular section of the show, those sitting in the front few rows of the stalls will actually get a much more immersive experience, almost like they're participating in Anatole's parade. I'm actually immensely grateful for the prologue and what they have done with it, which made me really pay attention to the lyrics. What they've done here is that each character would take their turn to sing their own key attributes, and then each subsequent character that follows would repeat the previous character's trait and then add on to their own until we have gone through all of the main cast. I think this is such a fun way to start the show, and even though there is a lot of repetition both in terms of the rhythm and lyrics, it drills information into your head and almost like the characters are playing a game with each other. Sam Young, who is the musical director, has done a wonderful job coordinating both the actors and the musicians on stage to really bring the music of this musical to life. The set itself is split between two levels, with the upper level primarily used to create a bit of dimension for indoor settings such as inside a nightclub, and when Anatole tries to break into Natasha's house. Otherwise, I think the space is actually a bit underutilized in terms of what they could have done with it, and it looks like the upper level was a bit bare for majority of the show. The lighting design by Howard Hudson, on the other hand, is absolutely exquisite. The way in which the light shines on the characters and different parts of the set makes the stage a lot larger than what it is. And for the people who are aware of the setup within the Donmar warehouse will know that the stage is not huge, and for them to create the effect of the fact that it's much bigger using lighting alone is actually really impressive. Um, it's very important to create illusion that actually the audience is not fixated in a very cramped space, and actually the lighting has done a fantastic job of that. The center of the stage, you've got a large circle that is about as half as big as the entire stage with an LED light underneath it. At the beginning, the actors very much use this as a stool, but later on it is lifted up and the light underneath the circle will start to come out, and this will then can be then tilted in different angles to shine light in different areas of the stage. And also the circle is used as an O that completes the word Moscow on the higher level of the stage as well. It is actually quite remarkable on how much they managed to achieve with this single set piece, and the light that can add so much more dimension to an otherwise quite black and white stage. So those are my main thoughts on Natasha, Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. If you have seen the show, I will be keen to hear what you think, and if you enjoyed this content, please do like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.